Hello viewers, welcome back. Without wasting your valuable time, let's get started. The year 1914 marked the beginning of a global conflict that would reshape the world. World War I, also known as the Great War, engulfed Europe and eventually spread to other continents. The major players were the Allied powers, primarily France, Russia and Great Britain, and the Central Powers, which included Germany, Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. This devastating conflict would claim millions of lives and leave a lasting impact on the course of history. The war's outbreak was a complex event, rooted in a web of alliances, growing nationalism and imperial rivalries. On a sunny morning in Sarajevo, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie arrived for a state visit. The heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne was eager to strengthen ties with the province of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which had been annexed by Austria-Hungary in 1908. However, the visit was met with mixed reactions, with some welcoming the Archduke while others resented Austro-Hungarian rule. Among the crowd were members of the Black Hand, a Serbian nationalist group determined to unite all Serbs under one flag. They saw Franz Ferdinand as a symbol of oppression and planned to assassinate him. After a failed attempt earlier that day, Gavrilo Princip, a young Black Hand member, found himself in the right place at the right time. As the Archduke's car passed by, Princip fired 2 shots, fatally wounding Franz Ferdinand and Sophie. The assassination sent shockwaves through Europe, triggering a diplomatic crisis that would quickly escalate into a global conflict. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, outraged by the assassination, blamed Serbia for harboring nationalists and demanded retribution. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand was more than just the act of a lone gunman. It revealed the deep divisions and tensions within Europe. The Balkans, a region known as the powder keg of Europe, was a melting pot of ethnicities and national aspirations. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, a sprawling multi-ethnic empire, faced growing internal pressure from nationalist movements. To understand the outbreak of World War I, it is crucial to examine the underlying causes that had been simmering for decades. Nationalism, militarism, imperial rivalry, and a complex web of alliances created a volatile environment ripe for conflict. These factors, intertwined and mutually reinforcing, ultimately led Europe down the path to war. Nationalism, a powerful force in the early 20th century, fueled tensions between nations. Many Europeans believed in the superiority of their own nation and culture, leading to rivalry and distrust. This was particularly true in the Balkans, where Serbian nationalism clashed with Austro-Hungarian dominance. Militarism, the glorification of military strength, and the belief that war was inevitable and even desirable also played a significant role. European nations engaged in an arms race, expanding their armies and navies at an alarming rate. This created an atmosphere of suspicion and fear, as nations viewed each other's growing military might with growing concern. Imperial rivalry, driven by economic competition and the pursuit of colonies, further exacerbated tensions. European powers competed for control of territories in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific, leading to friction and conflict. The race for colonies fueled a sense of distrust and animosity among the great powers. Finally, the system of alliances, designed to prevent war, ironically helped to bring it about. These alliances, formed in the decades leading up to 1914, obligated nations to defend each other in the event of attack. When Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, the alliance system drew other nations into the conflict, transforming a regional dispute into a global war. World War I was a global conflict fought on multiple fronts across Europe, the Middle East, Africa and Asia. The war's 2 main theatres were the Western Front and the Eastern Front, each characterized by distinct strategies, tactics and challenges. The Western Front, stretching over 400 miles from the North Sea to Switzerland, became synonymous with trench warfare. Both sides dug in, creating elaborate systems of trenches, barbed wire and machine gun nests. This resulted in a grueling stalemate, with neither side able to achieve a decisive breakthrough. The Eastern Front, stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, was characterized by greater mobility and dramatic shifts in territory. The vast distances and harsh conditions made for a different kind of warfare, with cavalry charges and large-scale offensives playing a more significant role. Beyond Europe, the war raged in the Middle East, where British and Ottoman forces clashed in the deserts of Mesopotamia and the Sinai Peninsula. In Africa, colonial troops fought for control of German and Allied territories, while in Asia, Japan seized German colonies in the Pacific. Key battles on the Western Front included the Battle of the Marne, which halted the German advance on Paris, the Battle of Verdun, one of the longest and bloodiest battles in history, and the Battle of the Somme, infamous for its staggering casualties. On the Eastern Front, the Battle of Tannenberg and the Brusilov offensive resulted in significant Russian defeats. The Western Front, etched into history as a symbol of the brutality and futility of war, became synonymous with trench warfare. This form of warfare, characterized by static lines and grueling attrition, emerged as the defining feature of the conflict in Western Europe. Soldiers on both sides faced unimaginable conditions, living and fighting in muddy, rat-infested trenches under constant threat of artillery bombardment and enemy attack. Life in the trenches was a miserable existence. Soldiers endured constant bombardment, sniper fire, and the threat of poison gas attacks. Diseases such as trench foot, caused by prolonged exposure to damp and unsanitary conditions, were rampant. The psychological toll of constant shelling and the sight of death took a heavy toll on the men. Despite the horrors of trench warfare, both sides launched massive offensives in an attempt to break the stalemate. However, these offensives often resulted in heavy casualties and little territorial gain. The Battle of the Somme, for example, launched by the British in 1916, resulted in over 1 million casualties on both sides for a mere 6 miles of ground gained. The development of new technologies such as machine guns, poison gas, and tanks only added to the brutality of the Western Front. These weapons increased the lethality of the conflict, leading to unprecedented casualties. The machine gun, in particular, proved devastatingly effective in defensive warfare, mowing down waves of attacking soldiers. Life on the Western Front was a relentless cycle of fear, boredom, and violence. Soldiers endured unimaginable conditions, clinging to hope and sanity amidst the constant threat of death. The experience left an indelible mark on those who survived, shaping their lives and memories long after the guns fell silent. In contrast to the static trench warfare of the Western Front, the Eastern Front witnessed a more fluid and mobile form of conflict. The vast distances, harsh climate, and underdeveloped infrastructure of Eastern Europe made trench warfare less feasible, leading to a war of movement and maneuver. The Eastern Front was also characterized by greater ethnic and political diversity. The Russian Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Ottoman Empire, all multi-ethnic empires, faced internal divisions and nationalist aspirations. This added a layer of complexity to the conflict, as ethnic groups were often pitted against each other. The Russian army, although numerically superior to its opponents, suffered from poor leadership, inadequate supplies, and low morale. The Austro-Hungarian army, plagued by similar problems, relied heavily on German support. Germany, seeking to knock Russia out of the war, launched a series of offensives that achieved significant territorial gains, but ultimately failed to achieve a decisive victory. The Eastern Front also witnessed the collapse of empires and the rise of new nations. The Russian Revolution of 1917 led to Russia's withdrawal from the war, paving the way for the creation of the Soviet Union. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, defeated and dissolved, gave rise to new states such as Austria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia. The Eastern Front, though less well known than the Western Front, played a crucial role in shaping the course of World War I and its aftermath. The vast scale of the conflict, the brutality of the fighting, and the collapse of empires left an enduring legacy on the region, shaping the political landscape of Eastern Europe for decades to come. While the most intense fighting of World War I took place in Europe, the conflict's reach extended far beyond the continent. The war became a truly global struggle, drawing in colonies and nations from around the world. From the deserts of the Middle East to the jungles of Africa and the islands of the Pacific, the war's impact was felt far and wide. In the Middle East, The Ottoman Empire, allied with the Central Powers, faced off against British forces in a struggle for control of the region. The Gallipoli campaign, a disastrous attempt by the Allies to capture the Ottoman capital of Constantinople, resulted in heavy casualties and strategic failure. In Africa, colonial troops from British, French and Belgian colonies fought alongside their European counterparts. The war in Africa involved both large-scale battles and smaller-scale guerrilla warfare, often fought in challenging terrain and climate conditions. In Asia, Japan, allied with the Allies, seized German colonies in China and the Pacific. Japan's entry into the war demonstrated its growing military strength and imperial ambitions, setting the stage for its expansionist policies in the decades to come. The war's global reach had profound consequences for the colonial world. Millions of colonial subjects served in the armies of their European rulers, fighting and dying in a war far from their homes. The war also exposed the inequalities and injustices of colonialism, fueling nationalist movements that would eventually lead to independence after the war. World War I, one of the deadliest conflicts in human history, left an indelible mark on the world. The war's end in 1918 brought about a profound transformation of the political, social and economic landscape of Europe and beyond. The war's legacy continues to shape our world today, serving as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of conflict and the importance of international cooperation. The war resulted in an unprecedented loss of life, with an estimated 8.5 million soldiers and millions of civilians dead. The war's physical destruction was equally devastating, with vast swathes of Europe left in ruins. The economic cost of the war was astronomical, leaving many nations deep in debt. The war led to the collapse of empires, the redrawing of national boundaries, and the rise of new ideologies. The Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman and Russian empires, once major powers, collapsed under the weight of the war and internal strife. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, redrew the map of Europe, creating new nations and adjusting existing borders. The war also had a profound impact on the social and cultural fabric of societies around the world. The war's brutality and unprecedented scale led to a sense of disillusionment and a questioning of traditional values. The war also accelerated social change as women took on new roles in society and traditional gender roles were challenged. The war's legacy continues to shape our world today. The rise of totalitarian regimes in the interwar period, the outbreak of World War II, and the Cold War can all be traced back to the consequences of World War I. The war's impact on the Middle East, where the collapse of the Ottoman Empire led to the creation of new states with arbitrary borders, continues to have repercussions today. World War I serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the importance of diplomacy, international cooperation and understanding. The lessons learned from the war to end all wars remain relevant today, reminding us of the need to strive for a more peaceful and just world. Thank you for watching. To support us, please do like, share, subscribe and turn on notification bell icon for more videos. See you in the next video soon.